All happening, baby. Hey everyone, and welcome to That Pedal Show Viewers, Comments and Questions Live. Dan here.
Rick here, hello. Good. As somebody helpfully always says each week, they work better if you plug them in, mate.
Indeed.
Welcome to VCQ. For those of you who are new, we do this every Monday. We answer questions. We prioritise the super chats in YouTube there. But we just talk about anything and everything.
Indeed.
Welcome. If you're not new, you know exactly what's going to happen. Buckle up.
It's a wild ride.
How's your week been, Daniel?
Well, there's a question. So we had, for anyone that's not in the UK, it's been the Queen's Jubilee long weekend that started on Thursday. So we've had 4 days of pageantry and partying.
It's the majesty of rock.
The pageantry of roll. And it's been lovely. So we had a party on our green, and
Any fights?
no fights. My daughter, her band played, which was lovely.
There was a time in England where you couldn't go to a village gathering without some sort of punch-up.
That's because of the cider.
Yeah.
The angry apples.
I miss those days. I don't miss those days. There used to be as well. I don't know whether it's just my social background, but there also used to be a time where you couldn't go to a wedding without a good punch-up as well.
Yeah. Have I ever seen a punch up at a wedding? I've played plenty of gigs, weddings where there's been punch ups.
Yeah. I got punched by the bride's father once because we were playing too loud. True story. Right.
Bev says we have a click track on the audio.
Ah.
Got to keep it in time, Bev.
How do we have a click track on the audio?
I don't know.
Okay. We should not have a click track on the audio now.
BV, is that better?
There's me thinking I turned it off. I turned it on. It's just a fine line, isn't it? Anyway, with talk of clicks and punch-ups, let's say, guys, the metronome is annoying, says Nick Tilleros. Sorry, Nick. Hopefully the metronome is gone. It's beeping, says David Monks. Click track. Why? Metronome. The reason is we send the audio out via UA Luna, and when you press record, it gives you a click track, which I normally turn off.
Yeah. Logic does the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm sure you can configure it to turn it off. Anyway, it should be off now.
Yes. So thank you. Yes, it's off. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Yeah. So hello. For those who are new, welcome. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. A massive thank you to anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grab some merchandise.
Please do. We've got the new Pedalboarding is Not a Crime t-shirts in kind of orangey orange and black.
Very nice.
So please
They're
get
great.
those. Tim Houston's on. Drave85 from Northwest Michigan is on.
Peter Goddard, 960. Hello from Durham, UK. Tom Reese says, bring back the metronome.
Zoot Allure is on from Long Island, New York.
Buddy.
Hello, Zoot. Who else we got on? Al Gorham's on. Hello. Oh, Al, you've got COVID, man. Sorry to hear that. Hope you feel better. Eagle Ray Rob says 120 beats per second.
Good wanking on. G'day, mate.
Yeah. Hey, Gordon. Steve Mass. Hello, Steve. Hope you're doing okay. Bal is on. Sam Foyer is on. 40 Watt Podcast is on. Sam Webster is on. Nick Tilleros is on.
Lovely.
Right. Then let us
begin. Some quick news this week. Welcome to anyone that's at NAMM this week. Had loads of emails and stuff from people saying, where are you guys? We're here. We're hanging out.
Yeah, maybe next year. Maybe next year.
We'll see. But we decided not to go this year. But yeah, massive hello to everyone at NAMM. Had a little bit of sadder news this week. So Dave Smith, who was known as the father of MIDI,
wow.
passed away this week. He was also the founder of the synthesizer company Sequential and created the first ever polyphonic synth, the Prophet 5.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
So it's kind of a big deal.
Rest in peace, Dave.
Yes, rest in peace, Dave. Thank you for all of your amazing work.
Yeah.
What else has been happening this week?
Well, it's weird, isn't it? Because the old Jubilee Jamboree
It has.
has rather...
Did you see?
Ed Sheeran? No.
No. Brian May.
Yes.
doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's just.
For a second, I thought he was miming, but then I don't think he was.
No.
It was so, the tone and the playing was so bob onto the record, I thought it must be a track.
That's his astrophysicist brain.
Yeah.
He's just so on it.
I just think it's entirely appropriate that, our dear Queen is celebrating 70 years on the throne.
Right.
And there's 6 or perhaps 9 AC30s outside the front of her gaff. It's perfect.
Lovely.
With old Bry giving it the large swang.
Yes, indeed.
Corgis be damned.
Mick and I have got a very big day tomorrow, actually.
Yes, we do.
We do. I'm slightly fizzy. So my favourite singer-songwriter, just someone I just adore and have for a very, very long time. We're going to see him tomorrow, and we're going to do an interview with him and his son as well, who's now part of the band. I'm talking about Neil Finn. We're off to see Neil Finn tomorrow. We're going to hang out with Neil and do an interview with him, and we're going to talk guitars. So, I am absolutely... I can't believe it's happening.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
Crowded House are one of my favourite bands as well, so it will be... And it's a Crowded House gig,
It's
right?
a Crowded House gig. So Neil has brought back Crowded House, and his son Liam is now also playing guitar. And Mitchell Froome, the original producer of Crowded House, is playing keys.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah.
And do we know if Tim is in the band?
No.
He's not.
No, he's not here.
Okay, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle those harmonies then, because that was the sound, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think But Liam,
Yeah.
it's that family vocal thing,
Yeah.
that family harmony thing, and Liam's a great singer. So
Be very good. Anyway, so that's
cannot wait.
highly exciting for us tomorrow.
Cannot wait. It's
In
going
the
to be
meantime, talking about exciting, let's get on to the questions then.
Indeed.
We're probably going to have to turn them off fairly early tonight, because we've got a lot. Yeah, we are. We're going to have to turn them off very quickly.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
We're gonna pace it today, Dan.
Okay.
We're gonna be as useless as we always are. Whit Anderson, hello Whit.
Woo.
He says, I'm wet, dry, curious. From Hopewell, New Jersey. Is the one cabinet Mesa solution, regard the one cabinet Mesa solution behind Daniel, that's to say it's a 212 and I've got it split separately, so one 12-inch speaker is doing the wet, one 12-inch speaker is doing the dry. Is it less sensitive to room and venue? In other words, is there less dialing in since there are less variables? Much love to use. Whit. It's interesting you asked that question, Whit. Neither Dan nor I are doing lots of gigs at the moment, but I happened to do one on Friday, and it was an outdoor gig, so it could be nice and loud. It was really great. And it was a sort of reminder of how everything changes with volume.
Yes.
And how everything always changes with volume, and it becomes a different sport.
Of course, a massive congrats to you for your first, the Mick Taylor Blues Explosion experience. Mick did his gig on the weekend, and I got sent clips, and you sounded flippin'
Thanks, man.
incredible.
I've got to say huge thanks to Paddy Blight. Paddy is an awesome bass player who happens to play bass in the That Pedal Show band whenever we play, and Paddy kind of pushed me up the hill and got me out playing, and it was great. We had a guy called Gary Kroll on drums and a guy called Tom Hughes on keys, and
firing, man. It just sounds amazing.
All I can say was, if for those of you who've experienced it, you will know this, that moment where you can just lean into the band. You just lean into the band. You've got all the time in the world. They've
Complete
got
confidence
you.
in them.
It was such a treat to play with them. Just every single one of them, bang up pros in the pocket, on the money, which meant I could flail around and get it all wrong at the front.
Paddy says Mick smashed it.
Oh, thanks, Paddy. And I seriously, Paddy, big thanks to you, because I haven't played for ages and there's a bit of a confidence issue going on, and so to just get up there and do it was great.
Yeah.
Anyway, and thanks to everyone who came and said hello as well. There's a few TPSs there. the point I was actually going to make was that it does all change with volume, and everything changes with volume. So to answer the question,
Blue.
to answer the question, I think it always changes no matter what. And I don't think that the 212 Mesa rig was really any less or more predictable than anything else. I took my 2-rock. It's like, right, okay, I haven't played for ages. I need to be comfortable here. Strat, Klon, 2-rock, Tube Screamer.
Schwang.
There was, thankfully, the guy who was organised it is a guy called Adam Sweet, who's also a really spectacularly good guitar player, singer, artist. And he was putting it all on. Anyway, he had a Marshall Vintage Modern. So I just used that as my dry amp.
Nice.
And the two things together worked great. We played nice and loud because it was outside. But it did remind me just how everything changes once the volume is up. And you just got to be on your toes a little bit to make sure that your gain staging's right. I deliberately set all my pedals with 25% less gain than I thought I would need.
Right.
And that paid dividends because it was clear.
Okay.
Because there was clarity.
Right.
Well, I felt there was clarity. I don't know if there was or not, but...
Did you enjoy playing like that?
Oh, man, massive.
Great.
I enjoyed it so much. Because what you get with the volume, you don't need so much gain.
Of course.
Because you've got sustain and you've got tone and you've got...
There it is.
And it's great. I love it. Anyway.
And I did sound for my daughter's band on the weekend, and I'd like to apologise to every sound guy that I have ever inadvertently offended or annoyed by my sound guy comments. Yeah, it was an absolute eye-opener.
Dan had an interesting experience being sound engineer for some young bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. Wow.
I'm going to turn the super chats off. Thank you to everyone who is super chatting. We will answer everyone who has super chatted up until this point. So, oh God, it's kicked me out, Dan. It's kicked me out. Anyway, so yeah, I don't think there was a big difference, if I'm honest. You've got to dial it in, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The one thing that you do have with having the same cab is that you've got consistency as far as, you know, the spacing of them. It's always going to sound like that, as opposed to having the two different amps, where, you know, getting them aligned and you know, so that maybe a little bit of that going on, but I've never had a problem with, you know, having the two amps set up. But I must say, hearing Mick's 2-rock set up like that has given me an absolute existential crisis, because it is, especially those clean sounds through that, are some of the best clean sounds I've heard. They really this, because there's so much clarity, and I love detail.
Oh, you mean that though, not the 2-rock, do you?
No,
the clarity.
I mean,
Yeah. So not the 2-rock, the Mesa.
No, I'm saying, yeah, when I first heard that, and you're just, you know, with the 50-50 power amp stuff is like, it just sounds stunning.
Yeah. Okay. We should say thank you to BV Ninja. BV, thank you so much for doing the moderating in the chat and all the other great stuff you do, promoting the store and all of that. Thank you so much. Everyone say big cheers to BV Ninja.
Yes, cheers BV. Legend.
We are indebted.
Yep.
Okay.
So the super chats are off now, but if anyone has a question for Neil tomorrow, write them in the comments. I'd love to hear, and I'll go through them, have a look and see if there's a, you know, pick out an interesting question or two from you lot.
Peter O'Connor says he went to a wedding once where the bride and groom had a punch up.
Yeah, come on.
That's awesome. Oliver Boysen says, is NAMM permanently in the summer now and no longer in January? I think the plan is to drag it back. I mean, there's always been a summer NAMM.
Yeah.
Which is in a different place, but the big NAMM, which is in Anaheim in California, has moved to the summer, and I think the plan is to drag it back.
Okay. And
to the winter NAMM.
All right.
Which is what it always was in January in Anaheim. I think that's the plan, but I don't know. I can't help thinking that the experience of the pandemic and people not travelling might forever change NAMM into something new and different.
Yeah. Be really interested to see what everyone's experiences of NAMM this year is.
Yeah. I mean, there's no, things change. They always change.
Of course they do.
And that's good. Right. Johnny Love says, Mick, is it a good solution to leave a bit on tap in terms of the volume knob? Well, yeah, all the time. And you're constantly dealing with that.
Does he mean
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Right.
You might not see it on TPS, but if I'm playing live and singing, my little finger is anchored to that volume knob, so it's always up and down, so that when it's full up, you've got all the harmonics and stuff that you want, and when it's back, you have less. And then depending on how you stack your pedals, that will depend on how much high end comes through, etc., etc. So yeah, it becomes. I think the more you do it, the more you just don't think about it, and it becomes an extension of simply playing the guitar. I find, but
Sure.
yeah. But in terms of thinking, am I on 9 or am I on 10? No, never. Can't compute that.
Yeah.
It's more like up or down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Albuspan says, I can confirm the plan is April in Anaheim and then back to January year after.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So April next year and then January the year after that.
There we go.
Nice. Well, hopefully we'll go next year. Thomas Gellner. Hello, Thomas. He said, I bought an ES335 figured antique natural on Friday. All right.
Lovely.
I should have been working at home over the weekend in the home office, but my new guitar keeps looking at me. I just wanted to share my joy with you. Congratulations. There's nothing quite like a new guitar, is there?
Oh, you know what? If it was just for that inspired month, for that new guitar, I would buy a new guitar every month. Just to keep that flowing, Because it's so great. You pick it up, new guitar, you get excited to get up in the morning and grab it and sit with it and go, oh, check this out.
Is great.
It's really great.
Although at the gig, I played the 70 Strat all day. Didn't change anything. Well, I say all day, it was only 10 songs.
And just that guitar.
Just didn't play anything else.
Right. It's such a great
I'm
guitar.
happy. I'm happy. Thomas Gellner again, he said, I'm interested in books about gear. I love The Birth of Loud. Could you share tips about good books about guitars, pedals and other related stuff? Maybe even a vlog. Dan and Nick in the library. That's a really flipping good idea.
I'm seeing armchairs, I'm seeing smoking jackets, pipes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A waiter. With some sort of, overly alcoholic drink.
Like it. Oh, come on.
Yeah. There's loads of good books out there. And it seems to be that in sort of over the birth of the web, obviously all that information went online, but there is still something great about a book that's put together well, because it collates and it condenses the most relevant information if it's done by someone who really knows what they're doing. There's a couple of really good Strat books in that vein. One is by two Kellys and somebody else and it's called Martin Kelly, Graham Kelly, and I apologies, forget the other author's name. It's called the Fender the Golden Age, and it's among the best books I've ever read on, that sort of 50 to 70 period. It might only go to 64 actually. Anyway, whatever. The Golden Age of Fender. Similarly, Walter Carter years ago wrote a really, really great book on Gibsons. Walter Carter. Of Carter Vintage Guitars. I would also recommend the Stratocaster Chronicles by Tom Wheeler.
Yep. Aspen Pittman's the Tube Amp book. It's got all the schematics, but it's also got some awesome information there.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I think better are Gerald Weber's a hip reference a reference to hip vintage tube amps, and there's another one. Anyway, we'll do a list, and I think that's a good idea for a show.
Great.
The pedal book that came out recently is really good. Can't remember what that's called.
Yeah. Also, the Tone Bender book that came out.
If you can find that, it's called Level and Attack.
Man,
it's
just unbelievable.
The Blackguard book by Nacho is flipping unbelievable.
Okay, there's a show.
Yeah.
Smoking Jackets, library.
The trouble is, all the good books are really expensive.
Bubbles in a pipe.
I'm not old, I'm vintage. says, greetings gents, I got my new Thorpe effects camouflage last week, but alas, no room on the board.
Make room.
No worries, my new board will be here today. What are your recommendations for where to put it in the chain? I'm looking for that 70s rock tone.
Okay, so I really like it before my gain stages. If I've got an overdrivey boost that goes into my gain stages, I can sometimes have it after that, but generally I'll have the flange before everything, have that first, that goes into the gain stages. And it stops the flanger from sounding like an effect, because the nature of the top end of the flanger can be, it can just make things really stick out. And I really like that sound sometimes, but I generally have a gain stage on, like an overdrive and the volume on the guitar roll back, and that gives us really beautiful clean sound. And I find the flanger then going into that overdrive, it just helps the flange sort of meld into the sound. So try it first of all, and then try it out. It's like, before the gain stages, then try it after the gain stages and see which one you like. For example, I like flanger and phaser before the gain stages. I like chorus after the gain stages. So
you don't want it too far away from either of those positions, do you?
No.
So you wouldn't put it, well, you can do whatever you like, but typically a good start point wouldn't be to put it after delay or anything like that. It would be either side of what he just said.
Yeah.
Craig Montgomery's just written one of the funniest things I've ever read. Right. He says, Dan, you're a sound engineer now. Look forward to receiving your t-shirt emblazoned with our union creed. We're not happy until you're not happy.
That's
Craig, that is spectacularly funny.
That's
wonderful. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Well done, mate.
Now then, Santiago Andres Paredes Rodriguez says...
Say that again.
Santiago Andres Paredes Rodriguez.
Well, very nice.
He says, can you talk about your practice routine? Something about the road to achieving a decent playing level for us begging to enter the awesome guitar world.
Okay. Like everyone's days are really busy. But I find that if it's something that you really want to do, you'll find time. I get up before everyone else, about 6 o'clock, and then I'll practice for an hour. I've got iReal Pro, and that hooks up to my Waza Air headphones.
That's iReal Pro. It's an app that you can get. iReal Pro, it's called.
Yep. And I'll go through all those, I'm just working on some jazz stuff at the moment, so I'm just going through those. But I've got to make sure, because I can sit down and noodle for an hour. No problem. I love it. But I don't improve. So what I'm trying to do is actually work on stuff that I can't play. For at least half an hour of that noodle time, because I really look forward to getting up and playing. It's like just that hour before anyone else is up, really. And then, if I can get some stuff done that I'm working on and sort of improve, then it's great. And I find that if I'm consistent with that, it's better for me to do half an hour to an hour every day than 3 or 4 hours, once a week with a mammoth sort of, because if I do that, I don't retain any information.
I've started having a bit of coaching with a new friend, a guy called Chris, who's helping me to improve. And he's got me on a program of an hour's work where you don't have to do it all in one hit because, as Dan just said, everyone's busy. For the first 10 minutes, you spend your time doing something you know how to do, but you want to do it better. So it's basically a warm up. So if you've, I don't know, if it's a solo or a scale, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as you already know it, you just get better at it, and you spend 10 minutes doing that. The next 10 minutes you spend doing something that has specific parameters. So it might be, for example, play the minor pentatonic on one string only using bends.
Oh, that's nice.
You can literally set your own parameters.
Yeah.
set a metronome to 120 and only play every other note in the C minor scale. It literally doesn't matter what you do. The point is it's a bit of discipline, and the really big point about it is learning the neck. It's an aid to understanding intervals on the neck. It might be just play C. Play C in every position up the neck, then play D in every position up the neck, and then play E in every position up the neck. So it doesn't... You could literally write a list of these things. It might be bending a tone perfectly on the B string, on every fret. You spend 10 minutes doing that. You then spend 25 minutes learning something new, and that might be a song you're trying to learn, it might be a chart, it might be whatever it is. And then I can't remember what the last 15 minutes you do, if that all adds up correctly. Anyway, it's a 4-stage thing. I've been so intrigued by it and so interested in it, because any normal guitar tuition never works for me, because I get instantly bored and I go off and do something else. This is working for me, so I might involve Dan and actually have Chris make a video on this and explain it, because I think it's really useful.
So, gentlemen, I just had a guitar lesson with. Tim Lurch is on.
Hello, Tim.
Who is just amazing. And he says, practicing and playing guitar is a lot like brushing your teeth. People like you a lot better if you do it every day. That's very good. That's very good. I mean, finding a good teacher, is great. A quick thing of finding a good teacher: find someone who you want to sound like. Find someone who does something you go, oh yeah, I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And there's also some really good apps out there. So like iReal Pro is a really good one.
Yeah.
Tom Quayle has this amazing app called Solo, and it helps you learn the intervals on the neck.
Yeah. I think it's interesting with what your comment on finding someone who you like their playing and go with them. That's definitely one approach. I think in all my working life, we've always gone for a coaching model rather than a training model. So there are people out there who might not be great guitar players who can coach you to be the guitar player you want to be.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, right.
Because they understand what your goals are. And there is the case sometimes if you find a teacher who's too hell-bent on doing one thing, you don't click because it's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think there's a fine line between teaching and coaching. I would rather expect that any really good guitar educator is going to have a healthy mix of both and be very good at both.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the guy that's helping me, Chris, does happen to be an astounding guitar player. But what I've asked him is, I want to be coached to be better me.
Right, yes, of course.
I don't want to be this, because I've got no hope of being that.
Sure.
So, and I've got no interest in being that. So, yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
I think we should make some videos on that.
Okay.
There's so much great guitar tuition stuff out there online. I think if we can condense it into just simply saying, you know what, this really works for us.
Yeah.
You might want to try it.
Yeah, love it.
Right, sorry, we're doing really badly on the super chats.
Surprise.
Greetings from the Peg, says Sam Foyer. Hello, Sam.
Peg.
Come back to me. Sam Foyer says, great show. Could you suggest pedals that have drum loops? Is there anything else on the market similar to the Beat Buddy? Thank you.
The Trio.
Yeah, Digitech Trio and Trio Plus are worth looking at.
Really great.
Lots of Boss's Loop Stay Shy have them in.
Yeah.
The RC5, I think, has got...
Even the RC2 had them in.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, and they tend to go hand in glove with looper pedals for obvious reasons, because it's a loop and they help you playing time.
Yeah. I like the Trio for that, because it just, you start playing.
It's clever.
Yeah, it's very, very clever.
Yeah, it's really clever. You tell it what key you're playing in and it kind of knows. It comes up with bass lines and all kinds of things. So yeah, Digitech Trio Plus, if they still make it. And check out all Boss's line of loop pedals. Moa do one as well. Moa. They do a more loop and drum thing.
Moa is Moa.
More is more. Yngwie Malmsteen quote for those of you who are not following. Personally, I'd go probably Boss. That's the way I'd go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Some great things in those pedals. Nate Boudreau.
Hello, Nate Boudreau.
Hello, Nate Boudreau. He says, greetings. I plan on building an S-style Partsacaster, and I'm struggling to decide what pickups I want. I know I want 3 single coils and a Seymour Duncan SSL 5 in the bridge, but the rest is free game. What do you suggest for a $500 budget? Okay, what is a Seymour Duncan SSL is my next question. Okay. Well, so it's a staggered Strat, so you've got nice noiseless, classic Strat tones.
Okay.
Step 1, go for a full set of those.
Right.
Because they'll be balanced, they'll be calibrated to work together,
Yeah.
and they'll give you a nice balance across all 3.
Mm-hmm.
Option 2, perhaps go for your life and put a gold foil in the neck. Make sure it's out of phase with the bridge so you can blend it so
Nice.
it sounds completely funky.
Yep.
And a Charlie Christian in the middle.
Ah, there you go. And a Seymour Duncan Invader in the bridge.
Yeah, I'm being deliberately facetious because, the world is your lobster, isn't it?
Yeah.
In this opportunity here.
Yeah. And there's some amazing guitar sounds like over the years that have become classics. So what is the guitar that Joey when we first met Joey?
Yeah,
he was playing the
playing
Rakuda, the
like a
Rakuda
Rakuda
stuff.
caster.
Yeah. And that's a funky combination that Rakuda stuck in his Strat and went, hey, this is cool. And then everyone went, yeah, man, that sounds great. If you've got the time and the inclination to experiment with this stuff, it can be so much fun. But it does take a lot of time.
Yeah.
The
one thing I would say, Nate, is that because the SSL 5, I think, if I'm looking at the right thing, is not a high output pickup, I don't think. SSL 5 staggered. I'm trying to find some information on it. High output's true single coil, so it's high output for a single coil, whatever that means. I don't know how many K it's said to be. Not that really means anything either. Anyway, you probably wouldn't want to go with something really heavy and high-powered humbucker-wise to pair with any of that, because you're going to get a massive difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It also depends what you're after. So, like Gordon Rankin says, Mick, I've got a Charlie Christian T in my Charlie Christian in my T style, and I'm taking it out because it's too dark.
Yeah.
And some people might find that. However, Tom Lurch has got a Charlie Christian neck in his T style, and he gets some of the best jazz tones in a Telecaster that I've ever heard. So it depends on your application for it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But aside from the obvious stuff, check out things like gold foils. Check out some of the cooler stuff that Jason Lawler does.
Yeah. There's so many great
There's
things
some
out
really
there.
great things out there. You might even want to think about Filtertron. I don't know how that would be in a Strat, but
Yeah, cool.
Just different flavours of.
Did I say Tom Lurch?
You did.
Oh, sorry, Tim. Sorry.
Eagle Ray Rob, hello.
Hey,
Rob.
buddy.
He says, I'm looking to add a Univibe type pedal to my board. I'll most likely end up with Cornerstone Aquarium, but that may take a bit before it ships. What current production Univibe pedals would you suggest I consider?
Well, two things. There's a bunch of really good ones. We really like the Jam Pedals Flower.
Retrovibe.
Retrovibe with the big flower on it.
That's my
really
favourite.
nice. Yep.
Yeah.
Also, what's the red one? The one that Andy Martin uses,
Yes.
which sounds flippin' great.
They'll be talking about it in the comments right now. It's here somewhere.
Yeah, it's really great. But the other thing to think of is a harmonic tremolo instead of a vibe.
Yeah, I'm actually using harmonic tremolo instead of vibe.
Yeah, me too. And I much prefer it.
Oh, that's really annoying that it's not there. Where's that gone then?
I don't know. I think it's in the cupboard of dreams. There, behind the light speed.
Yes, the dry bell vibe machine.
There it is.
Okay, three recommendations for you, Rob. Number one, Jam Pedals Retrovibe.
Really lovely, proper photocell optical gorgeousness.
Dry bell vibe machine.
Again, same joy, loveliness.
Digital, isn't that?
No,
I thought it was.
no,
Sure.
no, positive.
And then the best sounding one.
Oh yeah, that thing is.
This is the best sounding one I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Because it basically is a Univibe,
Yeah.
but it's slightly massive. That's the pedal porn gypsy vibe.
BV's just texted and said, "Can we add a bit of gain to the mics because we've gone quiet?"
Ah, and the
It's
compression.
the compression from YouTube kicks in again.
Compression, Daniel. We're being oppressed with compression.
Oppression.
How's that? Bit better? We might have to speak up a little bit. Yes, okay.
Well, half an hour in, I'll get a bit tired.
Yeah, well, that does happen.
Yeah,
Yeah. Except when you get happy.
and I get really loud.
Yeah, about 20 dB.
And then,
It is.
yeah.
I know, having
And
done
then you
the
get
audio.
cross and you get loud too.
Yeah.
It's yin and yang.
Adam 850. Hello, Adam. He says, leg ends, new guitar day, Isbell Telly. I love it. It took West End tickets to a show to convince the wife I needed it. Do you have any similar experiences? I'm looking for a dynamic blues breaker type pedal to go with the Tumnus, TS, and Odin. Right. Do we have to bribe the missus in order to get new guitars?
Well, we don't, because we're fortunate that it's what we do for a living. However, a friend of mine taught me this trick. Is that he would, I don't know if it's a trick. It's not. It's quite deceitful, but it's handy. So if he wanted to buy a really nice custom shop Strat, as this pale blue custom shop Strat, so he went out and bought a really cheap pale blue Squire
I see where this is going.
and had it sat and said, I bought this, had it sat in the room for a bit, and then replaced it with the custom shop Strat, and it was never mentioned.
It was never mentioned,
No.
yeah.
And I don't, my friend, he can afford this sort of stuff, but he
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Out, leave the house with an empty gig bag, come back with a full one
Right.
is another way to do it.
Okay.
But if it's full,
Is that a new guitar? No, I've had this for ages.
Yeah.
Is another one.
make sure all your guitars are the same colour. It's the red one. But I think for a happy and healthy relationship, full disclosure in all matters is the way forward.
Absolutely, no question.
So if there's a bit of bartering involved there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Teen has never said, "Let's not do that now."
No, nor Catherine.
Yeah. Well, we're very fortunate. Our wives are rock.
Yes. Anyway, so onto your dynamic blues breaker type pedal to go with the Tumnus. We really like the brown protein.
Oh, it's fantastic.
One side of that is blues breakery, but
Yeah.
of course you've got the Nobles ODR on the other side. So I don't know if Brown do the blues breakery bit that stands alone.
They do. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they've separated them. They've at least separated one of them.
Yeah, the JHS Morning Glory is excellent.
Really great.
What else, Dan? Who else makes a blues breakery type pedal? Apart from everyone, Wampler must do one.
Yeah, Snouse.
Oh yeah, Snouse, the black box.
Black Box. Really, really great.
The Snouse Black Box is our number one choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really, really wonderful.
Snouse Electronics Black Box. Go for your life.
Yep.
If you're looking less expensive than that, I think all the kind of... Well, I mean, where is a BD2 in that world?
It's different.
Yeah, different.
Completely
Okay.
different. If you can, well, you can still get, blues breakers. They still make them. The new ones aren't the same, but you can still find old ones. You can still get Analog Man Prince of Tones. They do become available every now and then, and they are absolutely stonking.
I always think they're more mid-hump than a blues breaker.
They are. They do have more mids in them. They do.
Yeah. This is the Snouse Black Box.
Yeah, it's really great. Jared Harper says the BB preamp is so good. The BB preamp is so good, but it's not a blues breaker. It's a different thing. It's like British, something else. But yeah, the BB blues breaker isn't. The BB preamp is not a blues breaker pedal. It's a different thing. The Wampler Pantheon.
Yeah.
Yep, that's another one. Really good.
Yeah. Okay.
And Brown makes the Carbon. So they do have it. It's called the Carbon from Brown, which is just the blues breaker side. But get the Protein. Get both of them.
Yeah.
Because it's
the Protein's really
such a great
great
pedal.
Really great.
Yeah.
Some not such good news from Stevie Boy 444. Stevie Boy 444 says, "Hey gents, I've just been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Oh man.
And it's messing with my left hand. It's all getting a bit Jimmy Page," he says. "I'm thinking of getting a Sustainiac so I can bring my right hand onto the fretboard. Is that worth a try?" Yeah, I mean, hard for us to say, Stevie Boy. Presumably with Parkinson's, you're talking about you've got the shakes, and that is a struggle. And we feel for you. That's tough news.
Man, so sorry to hear that. Yes, for playing melodies and that stuff, you can do that.
Yeah. Don't know, and I guess you'll know how the shakes manifest. Whether it's generally holding notes down, or can you hold a slide in one position without shaking too much? That might be another option.
Yeah. Shake on the slide might be good.
Yeah.
Get a bit of vibrato going.
Yeah. Well, you haven't gone wrong till you've stopped, have you? So that's how slide works.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do it with the Sustainiac. What I don't know is if you then fret the other side of the sustainer, if it'll still keep sustaining.
Yeah. So you're talking about the sustainer
of course
and the
it
neck,
will, because it's just the
heater.
same as.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be really interesting to try, because if you
disregard the last comment.
If you, it's those mutes that you can get that sort of dampen the strings here at the nut a bit, and then, play it like a synth almost. Get those lines going, mate. Worth a shot. But yeah, sending you some love, mate, and
yeah, all the best with that.
Thoughts are with you, bud.
Tim Pavak or Pavuk. He says, "Thanks for the inspiration. I'm now wet dry with 2 Blues Juniors."
Nice.
"Can't dial in sounds from Boss Fender Bassman and Deluxe Reverb pedals, never having played them. Tips for getting to know a new amp and dialing it in." You can't dial in sounds from the best. Yeah, if you're okay, you might be talking about two things here, Tim. If you've gone wet dry with 2 Blues Juniors and you're using your Fender Bassman and Deluxe Reverb pedals, which are digital modelling versions of those amps made by Boss, basically. So the tips for dialing in an amp. We have done a couple of videos of it over the years. Our approach is always try and get the amp as balanced and open as you can get it.
Yeah.
And that basically means going through each control one by one, doing it through its full rotation until you hear the point of most change. And on most amps, there'll be one lower down and there'll be one higher up. And in the case of treble, for example, it's like, oh no, it's too dull, it's too dull, it's too dull. God, it's too sharp.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's that point of most change where you go from being too dull to too sharp for your tastes. If you go through each control and do that, be careful with the master volume, obviously, because you might blow your ears out. You should, and then obviously once you've got it set, go back and recheck each one. That should be the amp at its most open and breathing. Whether you like that or not is a whole other question.
Yeah.
But that's going to give you the most opportunity for the amp to be at its kind of, I don't know, its rest place, for want of a better word. It's kind of happiest, the place where it's able to give you what you're giving it.
Yeah, yeah. Great.
Yeah, because a lot of the problems come from, too much bass.
Yeah. That's a big thing for amplifiers. You can solve a lot of problems by just being sensitive to how much bass.
And the good news is, because you've got your two Blues Juniors, you'll find that the coupling of a bottom end using those two amps will be significant.
Massive.
So you can afford to let that bass down a bit. Try that, see how you get on, and then, regardless of all of that, I guess getting your overdrive to a level that works for you is a big deal. So, please excuse us if this is too simple, but it's really worth experimenting with the gain, the front end gain, and the master volume, and basically having them at their opposite ends. So you've got loads of master volume, hardly any gain, that'll be a clean sound. And then you've got loads of gain, hardly any master volume, and that'll be a dirty sound. And somewhere in between those two extremes will be a feel and a response and a gain level that works for you.
Yeah, and use that as a bass point. That you get that, the dynamics happening off the guitar, and then add to taste from there.
Yeah.
But it might be that the digital modelling pedals are adding too much of an amp's character onto an amp that already has a lot of character.
Yeah.
It was pointed out in the video that was out last week when we had the amp in a box style pedals, and it's like, yeah, the amps do make a massive difference.
Yeah.
So it might be that you find a happy place with the amplifiers, and you get a couple of simple boosts, and that might tick all your boxes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Best of luck, mate.
Good luck. Steve Mass, hello Steve. He says, after hearing you guys rave about them, I upgraded my Nashville telly with twisted telly pickups and with a Duncan Red Devil humbucker in the middle position. There are lots of great tones. Thanks.
Wow, brilliant. Very nice.
Nice one, Steve. KB, not my wife. My wife is KB. It's not KB. Thanks for all the inspiration, says KB. I run a home-friendly wet-dry rig.
Nice.
With an Audio Kitchen Big Trees, with a greenback cab and a JC22 with a Maiden D on the board. He says it's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I'd recommend it to anyone looking for something epic at low volumes. Yeah, that's pretty serious. So what have we got? We've got Audio Kitchen Big Trees, which is a 1 watt
1 watt. Yep.
pedal amp into a cab with a greenback speaker, and a Roland JC22 with a Kingsley Maiden D.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Awesome.
Good on you, KB. Oliver Boysen. Hello, Oliver.
Hi, Oliver.
He says, hello, Legends. I'm going to watch Eric Clapton in Copenhagen next week, although I'm equally just as excited to watch him play with Doyle Bramall. I know who I'd be going to watch, don't tell anyone. That's cool.
Lovely.
And I'm sorry I said Copenhagen instead of Copenhagen.
It's a Hagen.
Yeah.
Hagen.
Oh, that'll be great. Be interesting to see Eric now. See how he is.
Yeah, I've never seen him.
Yeah, I've seen him a few times.
Have you? Cool.
He's like all those greats. He's just got that thing.
Yeah.
Which you connect with.
Yep.
When he does it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that's a bit of a reductive way of describing an artist's work. But if you looked at its component parts and said, well, beardy guy singing a bit of blues, playing a guitar, it's not very difficult. Is it?
No. However, there's a footage of him with the full SG where he's demonstrating
Yeah.
the amps and
woman's
stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like he in that video is like unbelievable.
That's his. I am a big fan of Clapton in the Cream period.
Yeah.
And it's just more than the sum of its parts. And it hits you when you. Yeah, that's kind of. I don't mean to be disparaging about it. I just mean that those artists who can really connect, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
Be interested to see, in his later years if he's still connecting in that way. Enjoy that, Oliver. Tom Rees. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Please, can you rank modulation pedals from should probably be analog to can get away with digital? I use lots of modulation, but I don't have much room, so I have to use a digital multi-effects for some. Dan has a very simple answer to this.
Because modulation effects for me I use them a lot, and they're a really important part of my sound, and I can't do the digital modulation pedals. They don't work for me. However, if what you're doing is using one, occasionally on something like an H9 or an HX Stomp that you can, and they sound absolutely fine. And you can program them up via MIDI for different sounds on different songs, and they're brilliant. But I can't, personally, I can't do it.
No, nor me. Yeah.
But there are some really, the Wampler Terraform, again, this sounds fantastic. It's just like, when I plug in my Electric Mistress and I go, I'm like, it just connects in a way that, nothing else really does. And that includes other analog flangers,
I think it's
so
really,
specific.
It's really context dependent, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing like a function band set or a wedding set, and you've got a load of tunes to learn, and you need the phaser to be there or thereabouts on whatever song that is, and that's one thing, and that's great. And I'm not being in any way disparaging about those gigs, because I flipping love those gigs.
Yeah.
And I think in that environment where it's all about the party, it's all about the event, it's all about, no one's really there to see you. Sorry to burst your bubble, but no one's there to see you at a gig like that. They're there to dance and have a laugh, and they don't care whether it's you or anybody else playing. So you're there for them at that point. I think that's one thing. I think if you're trying to demonstrate your highest form of artistry to an audience who kind of is there to see you, and it's a different game, I think. And so that's why I say I promise you, I look neither up nor down at either of those pursuits.
Yeah.
Because they're things that we all do, and, we all love playing a guitar no matter what the reason for doing it is. Does the audience matter? That's a good question. I
think it's the wrong question.
Do they care? Yeah, because, it's like, how much do you care is the question, isn't it?
Exactly.
And I don't know if I'm having to play it like 9 watts. Yeah. How much do you care?
Yeah.
How much do you care?
Yep.
That's the question.
Agreed.
It's a difficult question.
Yeah.
Let's move on. This week's housekeeping.
Newsflash.
Heads up for our patrons. If patreon.com that pedal show, patreon.com that pedal show. Thank you to our patrons.
Thank you indeed.
It's a great help to what we do here. Anyway, the new giveaway has just gone live this afternoon.
Fantastic.
This is what you get in lieu of flashy graphics and incidental music.
It's coming though.
Anyway, if you are a current patron, or you were a current patron this afternoon, you should have an email in your inbox. Please check your spam, because it may have gone there. This month's giveaway is a JHS Bonsai.
Oh, flipping fantastic.
Either 9 or 10 tube screamers in one box. I can never remember. The giveaway is only for active patrons who were signed up at 3:30 p.m. GMT today. If you signed up after that, you'll go into the hat for next month's giveaway. The prize for which is yet to be revealed. So it closes at midnight next Monday, 13th of June, and we'll announce the winner sometime after that. And a bit more housekeeping. You got to imagine rototoms. The Andy Timmons gigs are frighteningly 2.5 weeks away.
Flipping.
I'll reveal to the crowd that I haven't started learning at least half the set yet. So,
Fine.
brown trousers moments, Dan.
Brown trousers.
Anyway, there's only one ticket left for Saturday night at Fat Lil's. That's the Saturday, the 25th of June. We've got 8 tickets left for the 23rd of June in Frome. So if you do want to go, you've got 1 chance for Saturday night, 8 chances for Thursday night. This is way too complex. And Sunday the 26th of June in Whitney, we've got more tickets available, but not that many. So if you want to come...
If you want to come, we'd love to see you. It'd be great to see you.
If you weren't totally confused by that information.
If you're in the UK and you haven't seen Andy Timmons play, I would urge you to come and see him play, because he is a force, and it's so... He is a rare breed.
He's just spectacular, mesmerisingly brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you can come and grimace for the TPS band and be happy, be cheered up by Andy when he comes on.
Exactly. We're going to make him look so good.
Yeah. That's our job. They were still booing him when we came on. Iron Wolf 1776. Iron Wolf 1776 says, I just bought a classic Vibe Jazzmaster to go with my classic Vibe Jaguar. I did the trick of wedging the neck pocket to lower the action and increase the break angle over the strings, and it's made them much more playable.
Fantastic.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
So
that's what I did with sax.
The neck goes up a bit, which means you have to raise the bridge saddles to get the action up, which means the break angle over the bridge saddles, which is a problem on some Jaguars and Jaguars and Jagmeisters and Jagmeisters, because when you hit the guitar, the strings come off the saddles and it's really annoying. Nice.
Paddy says, which of you two is learning all of Andy's parts for our rehearsals? Thought that was you, Paddy.
No, apparently there's some extra guitar required.
There is a little bit.
And that's you, obviously.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Because you've got to bring the Mick Taylor Jazz Blues Explosion experience to the TPS band. And I'm going to be on maracas or something for that. Congas. I'm going to be pushy conga boy.
Yeah. Don Elias. Dan Don. Don Dan. Alias Don. Alias Dan. Yeah, there we go. Alias Dan, that's what you are. Greg Harner. Congrats on the CV stuff, by the way. I think those classic Vibe Fenders are the best value for money Fenders there are.
Yeah, they're really wonderful.
Inspiring instruments too. Greg Harner. My band played a 3-hour show on the sidewalk during an art walk in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, lovely.
It's one of the best experiences of my life, and I felt purely free. I couldn't have done the gig without TPS.
Oh, mate.
That's amazing, Greg.
That's wonderful.
3 hours. God, that's stretch your legs time, isn't it?
When I was in Australia, and when we had the Olympics in Australia, where I was working, the torch was running literally past our front door. So my band set up out the front, and we played for a couple of hours to the crowd out the front when the torch was running past, and just playing for fun, right? And it was truly wonderful when people are gathered in that sort of spirit of celebration, and you add music to it. It's like, this is what we do it for, because it's really glorious.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's a wonderful way to connect, isn't it? Yeah. 3 hours, God. It's been a few years. Since I've done a 3-hour gig.
So I don't know what it's like now, but all the gigs in Oz used to be 4 45s. And, we did gigs, we start at 10 o'clock. And it was just ridiculous. We do this 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
I got to the UK and they're saying, 240s. And I'm like, what?
What? Yeah.
And they're saying, Dan, shut up.
I haven't got my eye in. Yeah. One of the highlights of the gig on Friday was I bumped into a guy I used to play in a band with 30 years ago. Like our teenage band, and we were, I don't know about successful, but we played a lot of gigs and we used to pack places out, and it was great, and we were young and enthusiastic and all that. Anyway, Matt Barge, the guy's name is, and he's a gifted trumpet player, like
wow,
truly gifted trumpet player. And he said, do you remember that day we did 7 gigs in the weekend?
Wow.
But one of the nights was we did an afternoon gig, we did an evening gig, and then we did a breakfast gig for a young farmers do when they were all sort of coming round.
Oh, man. Is that in Torquay? The farmers?
I don't know, I can't remember. He said, you don't remember anything because you were drunk the whole time. I totally was.
Brilliant. I've done those young farmers gigs.
Yeah.
Flippin' heck, they are messy. They're some of the messiest gigs I've ever played.
Luis Enrique Machado. Hello, Luis.
Hello, Luis.
He says, cheers, gents. Mick, could you comment on the Dan Drive Tweedy? I'm on the wait list. It will join a KOT, a Klon, and an Austin Pride. Thanks, legends. I can. It's easily my favourite Tweed sounding overdrive.
Yeah, it's magic.
Dan's done a really clever thing with that flipping great long chip that looks like a fat centipede.
Ah, yeah.
And it's got no clipping diodes or anything like that. It's just all done in the transistor, and I think that helps it sound tweedy.
It's the same one that is in the way huge red llama.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. And there was another famous pedal before that, Craig Anderton or Anderson, and I'm sorry, I'd never know whether it's Anderton or Anderson because different websites say it differently. Guru of early pedal stuff. Anyway, I like the Tweedy massively, in a big way. I was going to use it on Friday, but I swapped it out at the last minute for the Zvex 59 sound for 2 reasons. One, you can't control the bottom end in the Tweedy, and it's
massive.
It's a little too much for me in the environment I was using it in. Secondly, the 59 sounds 2 sides, and I just felt I had a bit more control, because the other thing with the Tweedy, it is loud. It is crazy loud, which is cool if your amp's overdriving a bit. I'm going into the 2 rock, which is like, whoa! Mm-hmm. And however, I would say I prefer the sound of the Tweedy. I just found the 59 sound a little bit more predictable and controllable for that thing I was doing that day. Yeah. But given the choice, the Tweedy every day of the week, sound-wise.
It's a CMOS chip, the 4049. There's loads of gain stages just sort of going into each other. It's really great.
Yeah, it's a great sounding thing.
Yeah.
It's a great sounding thing. I'm a fan of the band called Vintage Trouble.
Oh, yeah, come on. That singer in that band is outrageous.
He is something else. The guitar player in that band is a guy called Nalle Colt. I think it's Nalle or Nalla. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I think he's Danish originally. Anyway, it doesn't matter. His kind of core tone is Les Paul and Tweed Deluxe.
Yeah.
And one of the songs we were doing at the thing on Friday was one of their songs, and it's called You Better Believe It. And that opening guitar sound in You Better Believe It, which annoyingly is in F, I guess he must have capoed for the pitch of Ty's voice. Anyway, we play it open E, obviously, because they're all open chords. Makes much more sense to play it in E. It's an open E riff. Jesus, this is too much information. The Tweedy does that sound perfectly.
Really? Wow.
Perfectly. Yeah.
He uses Lazy J's?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a whole bunch of them.
KB.
Hello, KB.
Can't wait to catch the TPS band at Fat Lil's on the 25th. We'll be there.
Fantastic, mate. Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to own a vintage spec Tele, Strat and ES335, but it's time to finally scratch the P90 itch.
Oh.
says KB. What would I get more use out of? A Collings i30 LC or a Collings SoCo 16? Okay, quite different. So as you know, the i30 LC is a slightly scaled down 330 casino design. So completely hollow. It's an inch narrower across the widest bit, which makes it a bit more controllable in terms of feedback. And I would say to this day, the black one that we had, the aged one, is the best electric guitar I have ever played in my life.
It's ridiculous.
It was unbelievable. I have also played quite a few SoCos. SoCo's interesting. Full 16-inch body, so it's a full size. It is a centre block guitar, again, as you probably know. So the difference between a centre block guitar, one that has a solid piece of wood all the way down the centre of the guitar, which the hardware and pickups are mounted into, has quite a different response from a fully hollow guitar, and that difference manifests in it just feels more like an electric guitar when it's got the solid. You get more of that sort of push mid-range, you get more of a solid body kind of feel.
A bit more controllable, especially at volume.
Whereas the i30LC has a more acoustic guitar kind of feel and is massively dynamic as a result.
Yeah.
That's a tough call. If I was choosing here today, I'd go with the i30.
I would too.
Because I flipping love that guitar. But if you're used to a very solid guitar kind of tone and response and feel, you play at any sort of volume with any sort of gain, it's going to be much harder to control.
Yeah.
If you live in that sort of clean to just a little bit overdrive, the i30 is just a fabulous thing.
It's
spectacular, in fact.
It's impossible not to be inspired playing that guitar, no matter what you're playing.
Yeah.
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 There's only a handful of guitars that haunt me. That guitar does haunt me.
Yeah, there's so much. I actually ordered one, but I cancelled it because I ended up spending all my money on vintage Strats.
You did. Which was a great thing, with the right thing to do.
Yeah. And KB, thank you for your incredible generosity. That's really amazingly generous.
Oh, mate, thank you.
Thank you for everyone for the super chats, by the way.
Yeah.
It means a big deal to us, and it does help us do what we do.
Yeah.
Scott Tucker. Hello, Scott.
Hey,
he says,
Scott.
Greetings from North Carolina. Just received my JHS colour box from that pedal shop. Any suggestions on where to place it in the chain? Thanks for all of your valuable insight.
Oh, mate, you're so welcome. So the colour box is really interesting. It's Josh's take on a Neve preamp style thing. You can use it anywhere from a clean boost to a fuzz. One of the key control on the colour box is the multiplier. Let's just grab it. Right, where be it?
There's two somewhere. There's one there next.
Yeah, right next to me. So you've got this step control here.
It's a gain control.
Yeah, and it's like if you think of it like a master volume, where one, actually no, think of it like an attenuator.
I'm going to say it's a master input.
Yeah, like an attenuator. So, if you on like on the minimum, it'll be letting them a minimum amount through. So as you turn the master up, it'll be a cleaner sound. But as you let more input gain through, it distorts. Yeah. So, and on the maximum, turns into like a fuzz. Yeah,
you're dealing with a much wider, very different kind of impedance relationship, and also a much wider range of gain than you can expect in a normal overdrive pedal, and that it can be a bit hard to get used to. So I would start off experimenting with it at the beginning and at the end of your chain.
Yeah.
So if you're going to use it at the beginning, it's kind of like standard preamp. If you were, for example, using a mic preamp such as this in a studio, you'd put it after your microphone preamp and it would shape the tone that's coming out of the microphone. give it enough gain to bring it up to, you know, a decent level, and then EQ to taste. So you could try that. That's obviously going to have an effect on everything that happens downstream. But in that way, you're sort of considering it as part of your gain section. So you put it next to your other overdrive pedals, decide what you like smashing into it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
If you want to use it more like a traditional preamp, stick it either before your wet effects or after the wet effects. So it's kind of like you've got your sound, now we're hitting the mixing desk. Now this is our final shaper.
Yeah.
And I would say start there. Start with it at the beginning, mess about, try it at the end, mess about, and see what you feel. Because it is a powerful beast.
It really is. It really is. And I think because of the that amazing gain range in it, it can be, you need to spend some time with it.
Yeah,
it's not
it can
one
be
of those,
problematic.
Exactly. It's not one of those boxes you can plug in and go, it sounds amazing no matter where you put it. Because there are a lot of people have plugged into it and gone, I do not get this.
Yeah.
You need to sit down with it.
Yeah. And again, like a lot of, if you think about where it came from studio technology, you know, what you wanted in a really nice mic pre was the cleanest, most beautiful, harmonically rich sound.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of says I'm not doing anything.
Yep. Enter John Lennon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not really achieving anything doing that because it's so subtle and beautiful and lovely and round. So then it's how do you abuse it? How do you get it to do all the things that it shouldn't be doing? And that's, I guess, about learning the controls.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Good luck, mate.
Good luck. Simon Uphill. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Simon.
What was his name? The guy who had to keep pushing the stone up the hill, letting it roll down again and do it again. What was his name? Anyway, the story is it's from Greek mythology, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Yeah. That was his eternity thing that he had to do.
Yeah, it's quite important in existential philosophy where he that's what he had to do for eternity. So he just got happy with it.
Yeah.
And he was fine with it. Enjoyed it.
Loved it.
Yeah, I'll remember his name in a minute. Anyway, Simon Uphill. Hopefully you don't have to do that, Simon.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus, thank you. That's exactly who it is.
A surprising amount of people knew that it was Sisyphus.
Oh, I mean, it's common. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Well, surely Stone Rolling Uphill Man has got something to do with that, hasn't it?
I don't know, mate. The Australian education system is lacking.
You should know that. It's prog music, isn't it?
Probably.
Anyway.
I only listen to the time signatures, not the lyrics.
Yeah. Only don't listen to the time signatures. Someone will come up with it in a minute. Paul Gilbert did a record called Stone Pushing Uphill Man, but I think it was a reference to something earlier. Oh, thin ice here. Apologies for being out there on the thin ice. Let's get back to the questions. Anyway, Simon Uphill, not Sisyphus, says, I fulfilled a lifetime ambition by getting a Rickenbacker 12.
Oh, fantastic.
62012. It sounds perfect into my rig. Thanks in no small part to your wisdom and guidance, including my ego compressor. Thanks for the wisdom and entertainment.
Lovely.
Nice one, Simon. I am slightly jealous. One day.
Yeah.
Enjoy
But
that.
your Ibanez 12 string sounds ace.
Yeah.
It's not a Ricky, but it's got its thing.
It will rock that pedal show gigs, that's for sure.
Can't wait.
Square Wave Symphonies. Hey Legends, my band played the first gig in 7 months on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And I built a whole new bass pedal board with G3 for it.
Oh, mate.
Best looper ever. I love it. Thanks, Dan, for giving us this incredible tool.
Oh, buddy. Wow. Thank you so much,
That's
mate.
a big deal.
Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Namatanui Dupont. And I apologise if I pronounced that incorrectly. Hello, D&M. Nice show as always. Any tips on playing with dynamics instead of hitting the guitar hard with a high action? I've got 5mm at the 12th fret. Apart from the headroom of the amp and tone.
So
that's where we would start.
Absolutely. The headroom is everything.
Yeah.
So my daughter asked me to sit in with one of her rehearsals because they're a young band and they, asked us some tips.
Oh, God, you dirty.
So the first thing I did was I turned the guitar player's distortion down a little bit. And I said, okay, hit the guitar hard like you were in the chorus, and he hit it and it sounded identical. I said, now play it a bit gentler like you would in the verse. And suddenly it cleaned up.
Yeah, right.
He was like, wow. And you could see this light bulb went off. And sometimes the gain is just too high. And so it's completely flatlining your dynamics. Where turning the gain down a little bit just gives you that opportunity to control the gain from how heavy your right hand is. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the same thing, but with volume. So not just about the level of, the gain stage you're getting to the front of the amplifier, but if you can do that at a level where the guitar suddenly becomes more interactive with the volume of the amplifier, then you're into real dynamics. And I think Mick had a wonderful experience on the weekend of being able to turn up, and he turned the gain down and everything just a little bit, and I can hear it in the videos, just how dynamic that is, and it just even on an iPhone video, it's like it's dialed in and sounding glorious.
Yeah. That what he says, getting to the point of your overdrive and using your pick attack to make it more or less overdriven is a really good way to begin.
Yeah.
Although if you are 5mm action at the 12th fret, that's pretty high. I would if my action was that high, I would not be able to play that in tune because it would be pulling out of tune and having to push the strings down that far. And then plectrum or fingers, good place to start.
Yeah.
Did you say that?
No, I didn't say that.
I was learning about Sisyphus. Plectrum or fingers is a really great way to start. There's a load of tones that you can get just by using your thumb, and try the real fleshy bit of your thumb and then the edge, and then eventually get to the nail. And the same with if you just sort of like pluck the string, and you can pluck it very softly with the flesh of your finger right to the point where you're almost bouncing it. And there's so much dynamic in all that. If you hear a lot of the old blues players, they all do that kind of naturally.
It's one of the most dynamic guitar players out there who I've ever heard, Chris Buck. And go and watch what he does with his hands and his fingers, with his right hand.
Yeah.
He's constantly switching from a pick to just, finger stuff. And the dynamics and tone that he gets from that is flipping incredible.
The final thing I would advise is that find some effect that's triggered by a lot of attack. So like a massive reverb. Stick it on there and wash that tone heavily. So if you pick too hard, that reverb's going to go off into a crazy place.
Nice.
Or even a self-oscillating delay. So you get your analog delay right on the edge of self-oscillation. So you have to play underneath it, play underneath its kind of trigger point. Otherwise it's going to run away with you. And it can be quite a good discipline to just, and then of course you can dig in every now and again to send it off to do something epic. And that can be pretty dynamic too.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. That's a great idea.
Sisyphus was in the Homer's Iliad.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I was at Homer's barbecue.
Zeus punished him for cheating death and forced him to roll the immense boulder up a hill, repeating this action for eternity.
Zeus was a bit of a douche.
It's like you could have just made me go and do the shopping or something.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Here's your punishment.
And there's a few people have pointed out Albert Camus or Camus, quite an important figure in the word I'm looking for, existential philosophy.
Oh, of course. That's what I thought you were going to say.
He talks about him a lot. Anyway, let's move on. Hi DNM, says Mike2203. Hey Mike. He says, I'm looking Forward to the TPS gig on the 26th. Is the email receipt the ticket? Also, have you ever tried the 100-watt Marshalls 1959 and 2203 on full tilt at the TPS studios? I'll get Catherine to confirm it, but I think the email is the receipt, yes. And we'll also be checking names off against the door.
Great.
So I don't think you'll have any problems, Mike. I'm not sure we've ever had a 100-watt Marshall in here.
We haven't.
I've played many at full tilt.
Right.
1959s and 2203s and various others down the years. It would be interesting in here, actually.
Now, what I want to do...
I can tell you now it's not as loud as my 2-rock.
Yeah.
And it's probably not as loud as the high watt.
Yeah.
Because they overdrive. They overdrive a long way before you get to the volume potential.
Yeah.
So you're already into heavy overdrive. Before, don't get me wrong, they're flipping loud. They're crazy loud.
Yeah. I'd put the Wallace up against any app in here.
Yeah, we've got a hand-wide thing made by Wallace in the mid-60s. It's only supposedly 50 watts.
It's no way that's 50 watts.
It's like linear 50 watts. It's insanely loud, yeah. Too loud for me. And that's me saying that.
Zachary says, Zeus douche, name of your next band. Very good.
Tom wants to know, what's a good first delay pedal?
DD3?
Boss DD3. I'm going to say the JHS Series 3 delay.
That's a great first delay pedal.
Yeah.
I like the Boss delays because all the essential stuff is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very clever now as well.
There's so many great delay pedals out there.
Man.
If it's the first one, I'd go for something that's got a few modes on it. So you can decide whether you like the sound of tape or whether you like the sound of analog or whether you like a clean, pristine delay. Because if it's your first delay pedal and you're not really sure about all those things and you kind of tie yourself to one of those things when you buy the pedal, you might be missing out on a whole bunch of sounds you didn't really know existed.
Sure.
Do watch our videos that we did ages ago called perhaps Tips for Your First Delay Pedal or 10 Ways to Use Your Delay Pedal. We've done quite a lot of videos on delay pedals.
TC Flashback is a really good one.
That's a great shout.
Mad 7, thank you.
Flashback 2 as well. Go for the Flashback 2. And that will just unravel some of the different types of delay. And you might go, oh yeah, I really like that. Are you all right, mate?
Just a bit of asthma's been playing up, shocking.
Okay.
I'm absolutely fine. And I've tested too much. It's just my asthma's been playing up.
Talking to a friend about it over the weekend, they've tied theirs down to one specific species of tree.
No way.
That when that tree goes, that's when their bad days are.
Okay.
And then outside of that, they're pretty fine.
Interesting.
Anyway, David Metzler. No question from you, David. So I'll just check that we don't have a question from you. Not yet. David Ullman. Hello, David. He says, I'm considering the tube rectifier option on an amp from Amplified Nation. Can you talk about this? What's the function of a tube rectifier? I would think not. But would the option interfere with clean tones?
So what the rectifier does in the amp is it takes the AC and rectifies it to DC. And the most efficient way to do this is with solid state. But what happens is with the rectifier, as the valves are drawing the current, the valve rectifier sags a little bit. So you get that rectifier sag sound. And the power transformer, basically, it's pulling too much current from the power transformer, and the power transformer caves in a little bit.
Is that because, Dan, that when you do this, the amp's saying, I need this much.
Correct.
And the rectifier's going, no problem, I got you covered.
Exactly.
And when you do this,
Going, Yep.
and the amp's going, I need this, and the rectifier's going, I can't keep up, sorry. You can
Yeah.
have what I can give you.
Yeah, it's a combination of the rectifier and so if you've got something like the GZ
34.
34, which for example in my matchless is right on the edge of what it can deliver.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of that and the power transformer. On the matchless, it gives you the option to run 2 rectifiers in parallel, so that you've got a bit. It doesn't sag as much. But it's really interesting because you get these solid state rectifier replacements that you can put in the valve stage.
That's what our basement's got.
Right. And it just is a bit quicker. Stevie Ray Vaughan loved solid state rectifiers. Because don't forget, the volume that he played at,
Yeah, me
everything
too.
else was already...
I almost universally prefer them in the kind of amps I like because it's
Sure.
quicker.
Yeah,
Quicker, more headroom, faster response. Now, it all depends how loud you play and how much you're asking of the amp. So if you're never going to crank the amp, you may never notice the difference. Smaller amps, particularly small Tweed amps, kind of rely on it as part of the sound. So
Yeah.
it depends how the amp is set, depends how you play, and it depends the kind of tones that you want, which will, swing it for you, I would say.
Sure. Yeah. But it's, it all depends on, exactly as Mick said, how you're running the amplifier. But experiment. You can get one of those, swap between a true rectifier and a solid state rectifier and see what you think.
Yeah. Yeah, the basement, I think the basements come with, I think I'm right in saying they come with the solid state,
Right.
and you can choose a tube if you want
Oh, cool.
to do that.
Yeah.
One thing about tube rectifiers, and I don't want to speak for all amps, but it's the only thing I've ever had go wrong in any of my tube amps, is the rectifier.
Do you remember we went to, I built Andy Timmons' board in the hotel when we were in,
Yeah.
was it, not Munich, it was somewhere, Frankfurt. Was it Frankfurt?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was at the Music Messe.
And they're having trouble with his amps. They kept blowing a fuse. And just like minutes before they went on, and they'd find another fuse, put it in, fuck it up again, bang. I'm like, okay, let's get a fuse, but this time switch it, because the Messer gives you the option to switch from tube rectifier to solid state.
Always had mine on solid state.
Switch it on solid state, comes up, no problem.
Yeah.
And Simon is really funny. The curtain was about to go any minute. Simon Phillips was there chatting to me before it's going on. He goes, how did you know that was all that? So I've had tube rectifiers go wrong, and that's exactly what happens. They draw too much current, bang, fuse goes out. He goes, oh, okay, cool. He's one of these guys, he's so interested in how things work,
He's more interested in that than playing in 13.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's such a great gig. But anyway, there you go.
And now prog. So it does. Will it interfere with clean tones, David? Only if the amp is cranked, and actually, it might interfere in a good way because it might give you that little bit of extra sponge and sag that you want.
Yeah.
But it depending on the amp type, it's unlikely that the amp's going to be clean if it's that loud that the rectifier is sagging. It's usually under overdrive and under high volume that it'll start doing that. Yeah, good luck. Chris Groom. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
And Chris, thank you once again for your incredible generosity. That's very kind
Oh,
of you.
mate. Oh, thank you, Chris. That's very kind, buddy. Thank you.
He says, I've just picked up a Vanquish Custom Classic, a fantastic British boutique luthier. The quality is fantastic. Take a look and wish Adrian Hardman a speedy recovery. All the best, from Chris. I'm sorry, I don't know who Adrian Hardman is. Works for Worcestershire County Council currently.
The guitar department of Worcestershire County Council.
No, he has the responsibility for adult social care. He'd be entirely required around here then.
Indeed.
Let's see if anyone's coming in on that. Iodine 74 says, looks like the contents of a used baby diaper. Is the gold guitar. Thank you for your positivity, Iodine 74.
No, I love that guitar.
So do I. Yeah, okay. So apologies, we don't know who we're wishing to be better, but get well, Adrian
Yes,
Hardman.
get well, Adrian Hardman. Hope you're well.
Vanquish Guitars. Yeah, okay, let's check him out.
Yeah,
Maybe
cool.
he is Vanquish Guitars. G Barge, hello G.
Hey, G. Hi, G.
No question today, just wishing you all the best from New York City, where I'm visiting my daughter and seeing Ringo tomorrow night.
Are you back in New York City? Is that what you're saying, G? But you gotta have the delay on.
Good. Well, yeah, hope you have a great time with your daughter and seeing Ringo.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How lovely.
Swizz871. Hey, gents. In the past week, I bought a camouflage,
Nice.
an Oxford Drive, which is that Bogner? Original Deluxe Memory Man, and an EOB Strat, Edo Brand Strat. Thanks for the inspiration.
And he's off.
I would love to hear more about the Ed O'Brien Strat, Dan.
Yeah. It's at home. I play it all the time, and I absolutely love it. It's a very special guitar. I'm probably going to use it actually on our gigs. So I needed to do the thing. It's got to have that.
Oh, because you need a wanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll help with a wanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, obviously, you're welcome to use any of my Strats, but...
That's very kind.
That's such a great solo. That
It's
we're doing
amazing
Everybody
solo.
Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, and it's some great guitar in that.
Yep.
Paul Matulovic. Hello, Paul.
Hello,
He
Paul.
says, I had some good fortunes lately, finding some special colourways that had been eluding me. Have you ever held off on buying something because you were waiting to find the special one? The Juju in blue, sadly, still eludes me. So let's say we're talking about pedals and not guitars, because yes, I definitely held off buying guitars because of colours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
Pedals, no. I don't think.
No.
No, it's a sort of a more recent thing, isn't it? The special run and different colours, and I
Yeah.
remember Keeley did like the stealth with the, black casing and black lettering,
Oh, yeah.
which
Yeah,
is really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Or really dark grey or whatever.
It was funny when we bought Zach's guitar. He saw the purple Jag and just went, "Whoa!" There's some colours just leap out and just demand to be picked up and played.
Yeah, pedals wise, I'm usually too fizzy about getting the pedal that I worry about the colour. That said, I have a Google round for one of those gold tube screamers every now and again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was an anniversary one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Didn't they do one with Femoram? Is it that one?
Oh, they're far out money, aren't they?
They are crazy money.
Yeah. Actually, why haven't we got one of those?
That's a really good question.
It sounded spectacular.
Yep.
Like I need another tube screamer, right?
Max Power said Adrian Hardman is the luthier at Vanquish Guitars.
Then
There you
we
go.
wish you a speedy recovery.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's one here for £1,700.
No, there's not. Really? Oh, man.
Yeah. 1,800 quid, 1,600 quid.
No!
2.5 grand. No, sorry, that's too much. That's silly. DWC. Why does my OCD make a popping sound when I switch it off or on? Excuse me. There's a Polytune 3 before it and a TS9 after, if it matters. It may
Okay.
well matter.
Okay. So, there's a couple of things that will make a pedal pop. If you have a pedal that has a true bypass switch and the circuit that is in the true bypass, if that circuit flips the phase, what can happen is that if you've got, I'm trying to explain this, right. Let's say you're playing and you're on this cycle, and when it's up here, you switch, and then, but the input is out of phase with what's going on in the circuit. As you switch, you get this, which flips the phase and goes back to this, and what you get is that drop, and it can be volts, depending on gain and that sort of stuff, but you can perceive that as a pop. The other thing, you can have what's called a DC offset.
That's what I thought it was. But
yeah, well, it can be both, because sometimes if you've got the phase thing is I had this thing with the pedal once, and sometimes it would pop and sometimes it wouldn't, and it just depends on where you switch it. Because if you switch it, and obviously, harmonically the guitar signal is a lot more complex than that, but if most of the harmonics and stuff was switched when the cycle was in the middle, you switch it, you wouldn't perceive that change of phase. But if things were switched when they're at the top, you get that drop straight down, and you get that as a click or a pop. The DC offset, though, how do you explain this? Right, sometimes, depending on the transistor and the design of the pedal, let's say you've got your 0 volts and you've got your 9 volts, and then you might have a pair of resistors, and in the center of that is 4.5 volts, and then you've got an input capacitor at the end. If you didn't have that input capacitor, you would get 4.5 volts on your pickup coil, and no one wants that. So you have this capacitor that blocks all the DC, only lets AC through, and that center point is what we call a false ground. And so you've got the headroom is then from that center point up and down. But sometimes, if that center point isn't we can get leaking DC, or it's perceived as leaking DC, on either the input cap, which gives you, if you might get DC here and you get this big switching pop when you change your pickups, or you don't get on the output if you've got a dodgy capacitor or whatever, and you get a bit of DC coming through, then what happens is when you switch back from your from that circuit, and you switch back with like a true bypass, and that drop from that offset voltage to your the proper reference that you've got from your from your coil to to ground, you've got your live and your ground. That difference that you get, that DC offset, it goes bang, and you can perceive that as a pop as well.
Does it only happen in true bypass pedals?
So what happens with a buffered pedal is because you've always got that reference. So you're not you don't, even if that particular pedal has got an offset, you're not whether you're using that circuit or you're not, you've always got that offset. So you don't get that change. So if you're using like a FET or something to switch, the way the Boss pedals do, or a group of them, and you're retaining the buffers in the circuit, you're only switching part of that circuit off. And so you let's say you've got a like a 0.5 volt offset, which would be quite a lot.
Yep.
But you can switch that silently because you never that's never being bypassed to go straight back to ground. And it's like if you get a 9 volt battery and put on a speaker, it goes pop, 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 right? It's because you are introducing that voltage, and it sees that as an AC, even though the battery's DC, because we're jumping straight up to that volt. It sees that as AC because it's going up. So any fast change like that, it's perceived as like an AC ripple thing. So yeah, I need to do a video on it and explain it and go through it, because it's one of those things that can be quite baffling.
And annoying. Yeah, you've either got to put up with it, because even adding in a true bypass loop isn't going to help, because that gives you the same problem, does it?
It can do. Yeah, it can do. But you can, there are things that you can do. An easy thing to do is take a meter and measure the output of your pedal and see if you're getting any DC on the output. It should measure 0 volts.
Oh, interesting. So you might have a dicky capacitor.
Exactly.
Well, there we are.
There we are.
That's why it happens. It's a feature of true bypass pedals.
But it can't. It not necessarily. It depends on the circuit that's in the true bypass. The true bypass is just a loop, and you've got 2 possible signal paths. You've got a signal path that goes around the outside of everything, and then when you switch it in, the signal path goes into the pedal. The other thing is you might have a DC offset on your amplifier.
Okay.
So, and in that case, what's happening is you get, your pedal the circuit of the pedal might be perfect, but when you switch to the amp, the offset's actually on the input of the amp, and so you get this pop there.
You get it there.
Yeah.
Spell DC offset.
I love a bit of DC offset.
Be interesting to know if it makes any difference if you've got your Polytune or your TS9 on or off, and it gets any worse or better. Whether that, because there's no impedance problem here, is there?
No.
So
it's not an
it's
impedance
not
thing.
to do with that.
No.
Okay. Let's move along. Hopefully that was useful. DWC. Kevin Handy. I recently upgraded everything on the first guitar I purchased 20 years ago, a $200 Ibanez. I put a gold foil in the neck, P90 in the bridge. It's now one of my favourites. And a Sentimental project. Are there any Sentimental projects that didn't make financial sense for you both? Line them up.
The big one for me was first ever switcher. But I just kept going with that because I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Financial sense isn't something that really figures in mine and Dan's lives. It's not been a sort of guider of life.
No.
Yeah.
And I've noticed my son has got the same thing, that if I have an idea, it will take over everything.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But the blinkers go on, and I can't focus or think about anything else.
No.
And
but just a
you
little
need to join a support group with my
into
wife.
Dan's brain. That could be designing a new pedal switcher, or it could be adding ketchup to his chips. It's the same level of intensity once it's in there.
That's very true. It's very true. But my son has it.
Yeah.
And I've noticed it in him.
Yeah.
And it drives me absolutely crazy.
There's a name for it, isn't there?
Oh,
it's hyper focus, isn't it? Is what it is.
Yeah, it's hyper focus, and that's also part of ADHD, which we both have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
It is quite incredible, actually. When you get on something, it's like on it.
Yeah.
But I think that's why you're good at a lot of stuff.
I'm not good at a lot of stuff. You are good at a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But
I am good at 3 things.
multi-talentless is what I would...
No. There are things that I have been able to focus on.
Yeah.
But there's the rest of the word that I haven't been able to focus on that I'm totally useless at.
Yeah. And to bring that full circle, neither of us has ever been very financially astute or sensible. So financial sense, yeah, I mean...
Nothing we do makes financial sense.
Yeah, I think I bought 3 pick guards in the last 2 years that are all $200 each. There's nothing financially sensible about that.
Yeah, but look at the colour of this one.
Yeah.
It's a bit more green than this one.
Yeah. I think, and okay, so then we're into, well, are you just throwing money about? Well, it's not quite that, is it? Is buying a Bentley Continental GT from the Bentley showroom good financial sense?
I don't think in anyone's world that could be called good financial sense.
Yeah. I was looking at, I quite like watches. I don't have any very expensive watches, but I like watches, and I get an email every week from watchfinder.co.uk. And for those of you who are into watches, you'll know that the price of Rolexes at the moment is insane. So where a Submariner used to be, I don't know, 5 or 7 grand not that long ago, 25 grand for a pretty average sub at the moment.
Are you serious?
Even a green one. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Rolex have obviously limited the supply, and you can't buy them. And the price of used Rolexes is insane. They had one there that was 150 some grand. Similarly, Catherine and I are looking to buy a new family car, or not a new car, but replace our family car just recently. So when the fatigue sets in on Auto Trader trying to decide what you're going to buy, you look up the silly cars.
Right.
I thought, I wonder how much a nice C63 AMG, Merc is, or an RS8 or an RS6 Audi with the Lambo engine in it. I'm thinking, I don't know, they're probably 80 or 90 grand or something. 160,000 quid for a car. My point is, if you've got the cash, good on you.
Yeah. I was on Auto Trader the other day because there was a show about the Lamborghini Countach or Countach, and when I was growing up, that was my dream. And my dad made me one promise in my life that if we ever drove past one that had broken down, we'd pull over and help him out. Right, that was the one promise. So, and I saw one on a because remember Cannonball Run, and that was like it was like anyway. There was one on a TV show, and I thought, I wonder how much they go for now. And
if you can find one that still works.
If you can find one that still works, they're still like £500,000.
Yeah. Well, that's where it goes over into the...
It's like, are you
but
kidding?
The aforementioned Bentley Continental GT, 6-litre V8, really bitchin' car. You can buy a 2008, 2007 one of those for about 20 grand.
No. See, that's what I thought you get for the Lamborghini. There might be some early 70s ones that have, but there was a copy of it made from a kit car that there was still 60 grand.
Yeah. Had a Mini underneath it. Yeah. Anyway, the point of throwing all these ridiculous numbers around with cars is, I think, with guitar stuff, I just think you can. If it's a few hundred quid here and there, and I appreciate that's still a lot of money for some people, and it's never quite as painful as walking into that, cars. You walk into the showroom, you buy the car, and you lose thousands on it.
Yeah,
and it's just
straight away.
Biggest colossal waste of money going. But you need a car, right? So that's why you do it. I don't know. I think if you buy right with guitars and pedals and stuff, and you buy it used, you never end up losing that much money on it.
No.
All of which is some long-winded justification of saying that they do sort of make financial sense if you buy the right stuff.
Yes. Whole journey of mine condensed down, but I always used to buy state-of-the-art stuff because I thought it had to sound the best, and that's where I lost all my money, because it wasn't worth half of what it was worth the year after I'd had it. But like Mick's Strats that he's recently bought, not going to lose anything on those.
No.
I've got same thing with my old tellies. They're expensive, but I'm certainly not going to lose anything on them. It's like when a lot of guys invest in art because they really love art. They get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and they buy them properly, they don't lose any money on them.
Yeah, it's a different thing at that point, isn't it? It's not about value for money there. It's about
perceived
value.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, we could... my car is worth less than my guitar, says Michael W. So's mine.
Yep.
Thank goodness. Right, sorry. We're losing it.
Surprise.
Paul the Bearded One Downing is saying, hello gents, good afternoon, could I trouble you for some chorus recommendation, please? Paul is in the UK.
Okay. I think Past Effects have done a CU1 clone that's supposed to be really good. The Analog Man bi-chorus is just sensational. Still my fave. There's, I mean, even the Boss was a CE2 is lovely.
Yeah. If you want that thick, classic, soupy, syrupy chorus sound, C2 Wazza would be the first recommendation. But then it gets thinner after that.
Well, you got the Julia from Walrus, which is also gorgeous.
Yeah.
Other sorts of choruses like the Boss Dimension C.
Yeah. Once you move into digital chorus, it all gets different. I would, if TC still do the Corona chorus, that's
great.
probably worth looking at. And the one that we really like, that's just been reissued.
Small box of magic.
Dan will tell you what this is.
So this is the TC stereo chorus flanger. Excuse me. All analog, same design as the original, but it's DC input, so it's easier to power, and it sounds absolutely glorious.
There you go. That's our. What about Electro Harmonics? What are their choruses?
So the
It's not, is the Stone the phaser or the chorus?
the
Electro Harmonics make some really great choruses, and they're good, great value for money.
what's it called? The Poly. It's one Kurt Cobain used. Oh, come on.
The comment section will be
Slapping
alive
me.
with it. Clone.
The Clone, yes.
The small clone,
There you go.
or the clone theory, or the nano
Poly,
clone.
and the polychorus.
Yeah.
Their stuff is so good.
So there we go. We'd say Boss C2 Wazza. We'd say Electro Harmonics clone of some kind. We'd say TC Electronic Stereo Chorus Flange.
Yep.
Start there.
Analog band, bichorus, and the Past Effects CE1 clone.
There you go.
There you go.
Hopefully that'll help. Gary Varner is on. Hello, Gary. He says, hello, Toes. I know fretboard wood makes a tonal difference, but I don't understand why. The string only contacts it behind the fret, so what gives? We're on thin ice here, Gary.
Yeah. Everything makes a difference, Gary.
Yeah.
Everything. Okay. Right.
So, we should just say that some people believe wholeheartedly that it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever what the guitar is made of. You can find lots of interesting videos online about that.
What's the wood in this body?
Ash.
This is ash. Okay. So, ash body with a maple neck. Out of tune. Older. With the rosewood cap on maple. And same tuning. I mean, even acoustically,
From where I'm sat, way tighter in the mid-range.
absolutely.
However, what people will be saying, Daniel, is that it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever once the pickups are involved and it's electrified. And I just cannot be bothered to get into that debate. Having played a guitar for so long now and played so many guitars and swapped pickups in different guitars and them sound completely different, it does make a difference. What happens is you've got resonances, the strings vibrate, the pickups transduce that into voltage and send it down a lead, and the harmonics and everything else that's involved in that ends up coming out of the amp. It just does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is, again, same woods as red, right? As an Alderan.
Acoustically the best sounding of the bunch.
It's just
To me.
unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. And how loud that is. Wow. Heavens.
Yeah. I do think, like everything in life, your understanding of what you think you're hearing can affect what you're hearing. There's a psychosomatic influence here, and there's no doubt that that's what happens. But then what happens is the sort of generalizations that you've come to understand over the years do sort of bear out after a while.
Yeah.
But then, I'll pick up a guitar every now and again and be expecting one thing and be delivered entirely another.
Yeah, totally.
So I think, you can be open to it, can't you?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Someone could explain it much more eloquently than us.
Yep.
It's a bit of an old chestnut. But it does make a difference, Gary. It does make a difference. I think it makes... The other thing, which is slightly chewier point, is... the louder you play and the more open sounding your amp, I think the more you can hear it.
Yeah. If you're playing everything really compressed, really limited...
Yeah, with millions of pedals and loads of overdrive and all that, I think you hear it less. But the differences become magnified, obviously, at volume because everything's louder.
Yeah. But saying that, there are certain guitars that are very popular, that have a very strong mid-range, that get used a lot in those situations where things are very compressed and saturated.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then I hear another guitar put in that same mix, and I'm like,
yeah,
well, that's the one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that just might be lower output, and therefore doesn't sound as compressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Wave Dave. Hello, Big Wave Dave.
Hey, Big Wave Dave.
He says, I must tell you boys, I love your string sets. It's very much like putting the EAD strings in IMAX or LMAX.
Oh, cool.
What is that? What does that mean?
Well, IMAX.
Right.
IMAX Theatre.
Oh.
I went and saw flippin' Top Gun.
Oh, you lucky
so man. Oh, it was just awesome. Yeah. Unfortunately, the IMAX was full, but next door was still a massive theatre. We basically had the whole place to ourselves.
No way.
And we sat right in the middle of this massive screen. It was like, oh.
I thought it'd be packed.
IMAX was next door, and it was heaving.
Ah, no way.
So good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for buying our strings,
Thank you,
Big
buddy.
Wave Dave. Rodrigo Guaspari, or Guaspari, says, hey guys, when I turn off my digital pedal, is my signal still suffering ADDA conversion and therefore still suffering the latency? Does true bypass have anything to do with this, or does it only refer to the matter of buffers?
So, the converter is what needs to happen for the digital effect to take place. Now, if you've got, let's take a digital delay pedal like a DD3. So what happens is your signal will go in and then it is split. One side of that split signal goes into the AD converter, converts the analog to digital, and then you get all your time manipulation and all that sort of stuff. But on the other side of that, you've got your split direct signal. And then those two signals, once you've manipulated everything, it goes to the DA converter, digital back to analog, and then they hit the mixer. And then you've got your blend knob and your control, and you're mixing the digital sound back onto your analog sound. So you don't get latency when you've got a DD3 like that. But let's say you're using something that's completely digital, let's say an Eventide H9. So your signal goes in, you've got your switch and buffers and stuff, but then the effect, when you turn the effect on, the first thing that happens is it gets converted to digital. And then all the manipulation of that signal happens in the digital realm, and then it gets converted back to analog and sent out. So when the effect is on, everything is converted to digital, and therefore you get the latency. When the effect is off, that part of the circuit is completely bypassed. So you're not going through any analog converters at all in
If
that
it's
scenario.
true bypass.
If it's true bypass. You can get buffered bypass, which just uses the buffers and it still bypasses the AD converters. And then even though your signal then is, you still get a low output impedance from the pedal, it's still buffered, but you're still bypassing the converters and you're still not getting the AD conversion. But there are some pedals, there are some modes in those pedals. Like, for example, if you have trails turned on in some of these digital pedals, it retains the AD converter.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the mode of bypass that you're using with them.
Yeah. Analog drive-through is what you're galloping towards here. So on what Dan's just talking about, the analog, the signal from your guitar is unsullied all the way through, and the digital bit's just mixed on top. So if it's just mixing a digital delay on top of your analog drive-through, a few milliseconds doesn't make any difference, no big deal. Because you're not changing the core tone, you're just mixing the delay sound back on top of the analog drive-through.
Exactly.
If you digitize that whole thing and there's no analog drive-through and it all gets digitized, that's when you get the latency.
Mm-hmm.
So true bypass is one thing, analog drive-through is another.
Yeah.
So,
and because we use TPS wet dry, the analog drive-through is hugely important, because as soon as you put an AD converter in that wet part of the signal, the amps are out of phase, and it's not a relative phase, it's a time-based phase, and there's nothing that you can do about it except for delay the dry signal by the same amount. And no one wants to do that. So if you've still got your analog drive-through though, then you can get your amps back into relative phase. Yeah. Best of luck. It's a journey, all that stuff, but it's fun.
yeah, Chris Piccioni has a really good question. He says, why only analog modulation but digital delay, which relates exactly to this? And
Great question.
for exactly the reasons we've just explained.
The digital modulation is everything's converted. One of the reasons is because the delay times are so small that you need to have control over that in the digital realm. If you're doing a multi effects modulation thing, right? But with a digital delay or a digital reverb, we are mixing those sounds on top of our direct signal.
Yeah.
And, and in that, as Mick said, a few milliseconds latency, and that doesn't really make any difference, or, less difference, because it's relative. You've still got your direct signal, and the echo or the reverb is being mixed on top of that.
Yeah. So it causes no problems with phase or latency in general. That's why. Digital modulation gives you a phase problem, gives me a phase problem, and it also an EQ problem, different story. Digital reverbs and delays, well, for the reverbs there's no other way to do it unless you've got a spring reverb. But if you're talking about halls and rooms and all that kind of stuff, the only way you can do it is digital, so there's no alternative.
There are complex analog devices that can do it, but if you the reverbs that we're talking about that we love and all, there is so much information in there. Doing that in the analog realm was really, really tricky.
Jim B, hello Jim B. Hello from Akron, Ohio. I really enjoyed the Amp in a Box show. I've been down that hole with the JHS Twin 12 and Superbolt. Thank you. We really like the Superbolt.
Superbolt's glorious.
Yeah. Shed. Have you ever tried stacking the two matchless channels by taking the FX send and plugging it into the other channel? Is that a bad idea?
Yeah, it's a bad idea. Well, okay, depends on which channel. If I took the FX send, no, because I'm putting gain stages into gain stages. Even if I took, so I did an experiment. I'm designing this thing and I'm looking at the output, just measuring voltages from different preamps, which is basically the send of your effects loop. And I measured the voltage from the clean channel of the matchless, and I think it was like 2 volts or something. I measured the voltage from the EF86 channel, 36 volts it got up to. It was just, so I couldn't believe it. It's like double checked it. It's like, yep, just amazing. So if I took that out, plugged that into the input of my 12AX7, it'd just be a mess.
Yeah, it would be a mess. Yeah. Would you have a phase problem?
Well, no, because it's linear. I wouldn't be splitting them. But if what I have done before is, because I've got to split my signal, and I can phase reverse one, because the EF86 channel is out of phase with the 12AX7 channel, but I can reverse the phase on one side and plug them into those 2 channels and get them working that way. And I've done that, and that's fun. But I prefer just the individual channels, and to be 9 times out of 10, I'm just using the EF86 channel on the matchless. It's everything I love about that amp.
Yeah. Yeah, so you feel no need to stack the channels?
No.
See how you get on, Shed, if you have one. Uwe Landsberg says, hi DNM. Have you ever thought about switching necks on your Strats? As you have a nice collection now and Fender made them to be changed so easily. All the best from Germany. I guess I'm not superstitious about anything, but I sort of, the guitar is kind of the guitar. Mm-hmm. This doesn't really make any sense because I'm really happy to swap out bridges and pickups and all of that. But no, I don't. I've never really swapped the necks around on my guitars. Never felt that.
What's the question?
Yeah.
The answer would be, let's swap necks.
Would this neck work better with this body just for the hell of it?
Okay.
How much difference would it be if we swap the necks on a couple of Strats? Would they feel, and maybe you like this body because it's lighter and you like this neck because it feels better. Yeah, I've never done it. I've never done it. Would
they all fit? Will they all fit in the same socket and stuff?
Ish.
Right.
Yeah. To be honest, the neck fit on the 70 is not great.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, interesting.
It's got that thing where you can. So, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe a project for one day.
Gordon Rankin's brought up a good point. It says if the digital modulation only modulates the analog signal, then it's not an issue. That's exactly right. So you can get effects like the Chase Bliss modulations where it's digital control over analog.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that's it.
But that's not an AD
converter thing.
No,
so yeah,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us with modulation, what happens when you AD convert is you can end up with a lot of noise. So then you have to do other kinds of filtering, and it just all ends up. I'm just never sure about the headroom in digital pedals as well.
It's really interesting.
Like to know about that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing.
Understand more about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Uwe, maybe that's something we will do down the line. I have changed necks on my old guitar that I don't think has ever been on the show, but my old yellow Strat, I broke the neck on that, so I had to replace that.
How did you break it?
Threw it across the room, I think.
At a gig or at work?
After a rehearsal, in a fit of rage.
Okay.
I used to be quite an angry person. Yeah. It just snapped straight through the peghead.
Wow.
Yeah. One of those things, isn't it? LR 1900. I recently bought a Mesa Boogie Caliber 50 Plus.
Nice. Oh, very nice.
I'm thinking about using it as a pedal platform with the clean channel, which I like so far. Do you have any experience with this amplifier?
Yeah, I've heard a couple of them, and I think they sound magic.
So the Caliber Plus looked like a Mark series Boogie, and it was around that period. So graphic. And I don't really know what marked the Caliber 50 or the 50 caliber out apart from the other Mark series. I don't know the history. There was an amp they made after that called the DC, the dual caliber 3 and 5. might even have been a 10, which is a very different thing. But if what you're talking about is the 50 caliber, the one that looked a bit like a 112 Mark series combo.
Yeah.
My main amp for years and years and years was a Mark III.
Right.
And then a Mark IV.
Right.
And if it's got anything at all to do with those amps, the clean channel is spectacularly good. Loads of headroom. So 50 caliber probably means 2 output tubes, 50 watts, I would imagine. So you won't quite have the headroom of the 100 watter, but boogies are never quiet. I don't think. But yeah, if it's a clean channel and it's got that sort of the headroom that we would associate with that era of boogie amps, that'll be a fantastic pedal platform.
Yeah.
I don't know what speaker it had either. If it was the Black Shadow speaker, maybe.
Oh, I used to love those things.
Which is a great, nice high headroom speaker.
Yeah.
Incidentally, Dan, I put an EV in my 1x12 2-rock cab.
Right.
And I love it.
Awesome.
I absolutely love it.
That's it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really great.
Yeah. Somebody may be chiming in with some knowledge here. Adam says, isn't the body neck swapping how SRV also made his #1 Strat? Yeah, Clapton too. That's Blackie was that when he
really
he used to pick up loads of different 50 Strats because they were cheap when he was touring in the States, and he swapped the necks over. I think he ended up giving one to maybe Steve Winwood or somebody, one of the offshoots. I think it's a pretty common thing to do. Lennon says, we've learned something new about Mick. James Bless says, the wrath of Mick. Yeah, old Mick. I was a colossal arsehole when I was younger.
But weren't we all?
Yeah.
We all went through stuff, right?
Yeah. Totally.
I was having a moment the other day. I was remembering some stuff that I'd done. I got in touch with an old friend. I'm like, oh yeah, man. It's like when you're young,
yeah,
you're just an idiot.
It's part of being young, isn't it?
It is.
What's the point of being young?
And you've got to allow yourself to go through that stuff.
Yeah. It's part of being young. That's why I don't hang out with anyone young. Good luck with the Caliber 50 Plus.
Yeah.
Nina Head DJ.
Hey, buddy.
Mick, have you tried any bound neck Strats? I just got a Custom Shop 65 and the feel is great, but really different because of the neck shoulders, almost Gibson-esque. Yeah, I have actually. I think I reviewed when the Eric Johnson bound neck Strat came out. I don't know if I reviewed it or if I borrowed it, and I quite liked it. It's a funny thing. So on my Les Paul, I don't think about the binding because it kind of should be there, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's a Les Paul. On my 335, I specifically got a 58 style because it doesn't have the binding. I don't know. Just so used to Fender necks, I guess. It's normal Fender necks.
When I built Rob Harris's board when he was playing in Jamiroquai, far out, man. This has got to be 15 years ago. And the day I turned up to deliver his rig, he just took delivery of a bound Strat.
Oh, cool.
They had the same colour headstock.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Was it a new one or an old one?
Brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new. But yeah, it does have that shoulder thing.
Yeah. I wonder if the Eric Johnson Strat had a colour-coded headstock. It was the Rosewood board one.
Right. Yeah, this was Rosewood board. Yeah. Matching, as in, the matching colour on the headstock of the body.
No, Eric Johnson's doesn't have that. It was probably a custom shop thing.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of, with guitars in general, despite having done it with the 335, because I specifically wanted a 58, because I'd been to the factory and I'd picked some up and I'd played them and I really flipping loved them in Memphis. So there was a specific thing that made me go, yeah, I really want that. But generally, I kind of want a Strat to be a Strat and a Les Paul to be a Les Paul. And the fact that it does or does not have binding is all part of what that guitar is. And it makes me think differently about it when I pick it up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I've never been one for, certainly with guitars, going too far out of the classic spec, because I only really care about guitars that have got classic spec, just from a purely personal perspective. and it puts me in a headspace of that classic guitar. But yeah, I really like the Eric Johnson one I played. Also some mid-60s jazz masters I think I played with Bound Necks maybe.
Yeah.
And really like those too.
Yeah.
So
I think the first jazz master I ever played had a bound neck.
yeah. Nice.
Very good.
I think they look great too. Plexico. Duncan, hello. He says,
Hey,
hi, Mick
Brian.
and Dan. I'm looking forward to our NAMM 23 TPS Extravaganza Celebration Mega Meet and Greet Playathon. Happy Monday.
I think we'll need to look into that
We're
because
doing it.
I love that idea.
We're doing it.
Yeah,
April
okay.
23, Anaheim. We're doing it.
Okay, done.
Funnily enough, now then, do you remember...
Sorry, I keep thinking, why did I think, that's 3 years away? No, it's next year. Not even 12 months away. Man alive.
Do you remember Andrea who came to the...
Yes.
She's been in touch. She's moved to California. A friend of ours, Andrea, came to one of the TPS days. And she said she will help us organise
She's an engineer.
in California.
Andrea.
Yeah.
She had that fantastic thin line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's Australian. She was living in London. She came to a TPS day and then decided, this is awful. I need to move to America.
This is so bad. I'll get as far away from you guys as possible.
And she went to live in California. Anyway, she's been in touch to say she'll help us organise.
Fantastic.
So that's good.
Yeah, great.
And fittingly, the last chat of the day comes from Aaron, our dear buddy, Albus Band Aaron,
Oh, hey, mate.
who says, well, of course she could be made to smell, just not repeatedly. Is that Spinal Tap? Is that from the outtakes? Or is it from the commentary? Anyway,
No.
Aaron, we're very sorry to hear that your flight back from NAMM is cancelled. So here I am. Love and miss you. Hope that flight situation gets sorted soon. Yeah. Don't know what that's from. Don't know what that's from. Aaron normally gives us a Spinal Tap quote.
Of course she could be made to smell, just not repeatedly. Odours and health. Smell disorders, when your sense of smell goes astray.
Goes ashtray. Is it from Smell the Glove, says Buzz Crumhunger. Could be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Casey K. Cole 4001 says it's in the movie. Lefty Mike, are Duesenberg guitars on a par with Collings? No.
No.
No guitars are on a par with Collings.
No.
And I say that with some vociferous forcefulness. I've never ever seen a production electric guitar that is anything like a Collings at that level of consistency and quality.
Yeah.
They are unbelievable.
Yep.
Gordon says, no, let's do Nashville NAMM, please.
Well,
I think we'd prefer that.
Mick Smith in Nashville, I haven't been. And I really, really, really want to do a country music special because there's a lot of tones that those guys produce that I would love to get a handle on. Also, we've got a lot of friends out in Nashville and we really want to go and bother Tom Bugavac, go and hassle him, outside his house with a bullhorn until he comes out and lets us in. We want to spend some time in Nashville. We want to spend a week and go and meet some of these amazing
dudes.
Amazing dudes.
And dudettes.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to leave the last comment today to Troy Loop. Troy, thank you for this. It's a bit of wisdom we can all take away, I think. Thank you for being with us. Friday, we're not entirely sure what we're doing. It'll either be the exploits of our trip tomorrow to London to see Neil Finn, or it'll be a live show. We might do a live show on Friday.
One for the algorithm.
Anyway, Troy says, so yeah, we'll see you on Friday. Thank you for being here, everyone. Thanks for doing VCQ. Thanks for the super chats.
Thanks so much.
Massive thanks to BV for
legend.
being in the comments section. It's time for Meat Feast for me and Dan. Troy Loop, he says, if you can't look back and wonder how big of an idiot you were, you probably still are.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you, Troy.
Yes,
we
indeed.
appreciate this. Play us out, Dan.
Okay.